I really don't think Capcom themselves could have predicted how important today would be for the Resident Evil community. Not only did pre-orders go live today for RE Requiem and we received additional gameplay footage, there were a few other things leaked and confirmed by third-party venues all over the world, and some of it was pretty major. But we'll get to that in just a moment. First, there's a new trailer to break down and a lot of new information to go over, so buckle up nerds, you're in for a good one. We'll start with the new trailer, or really the Road to Requiem, which is what Capcom called this new video posted on their YouTube channel. Once again, Maggie Robertson is front and center, and she starts off the video by recapping the Resident Evil franchise. Well, sort of. Interesting enough, Maggie's recap appears to focus on certain storylines of the RE franchise, which in a way could tell us exactly what sort of story, villains, and other details we could expect from Resident Evil Requiem. At the start of her recap, we get this look at an evidence board. Here we see a lot of different things regarding the Resident Evil games, but the most interesting thing to note about this board is the fact that Oswald E. Spencer is dead center on this board. Fans of the channel already know this about me, but for years now, even before RE9 was announced, your boy has been talking about a theory that I had regarding how Spencer could still be alive and how he survived his execution by Wesker in Resident Evil 5. Now look, I'll spare you the details since I've said it multiple times now, and I have plenty of videos on it already, so go check out one of those videos. But long story short, I felt that this connection, his connection to Mother Miranda and the Megamycete network would play a major role in Spencer's survival or resurrection, and that he would one day return to be the main villain of Resident Evil 9. Moving on, this board and the focus on the recap heavily implies that Spencer in some way will play a major part in Resident Evil Requiem, and I'll go over my thoughts on that later. For now, sticking with Maggie's recap, she actually really only focuses on certain plot points of the Resident Evil series. These plot points include the founding of Umbrella and Spencer's involvement, the events of Resident Evil 2 and 3 in regards to the Raccoon City outbreak, and the Winter Saga, which includes Resident Evil 7 and Village. From the outside looking in, a lot of the focus on these games makes sense obviously. RE2 and RE3 took place in Raccoon City. Resident Evil 7 introduced the connections and was directed by the same man directing Resident Evil Requiem. And The Village was the last numbered entry in terms of the timeline. But the real interesting thing to note about this entire recap is how much of it was spent on Oswald E. Spencer. For the record, the most iconic villain in all of video games, Albert Wesker, wasn't even mentioned in this recap a single time. But Maggie just couldn't stop talking about Spencer. In fact, she went out of her way to feature Spencer as the only founder on the evidence board with a picture, despite us knowing what the other two look like, went over his personal motivations for creating Umbrella, show us the scene of Chris in jail moments before they found his dead body by Wesker, and even went out of her way to mention the deep connection between Mother Miranda and Oswald E. Spencer. Remember my theory about how Spencer could have survived and how it had to do with the Megamycete and Mother Miranda? Yeah, I bet that 2-year-old theory is sounding pretty damn good right about now, isn't it? Also, side note, it's worth mentioning that Maggie also spent an interesting amount of time talking about the connections and the mystery surrounding this organization that was behind the Baker Estate incident. This is actually kind of interesting when you really think about it. Clearly, the connections will play a major part in this next game. She kind of teased that. But this recap pointed towards Spencer also playing a major part as well. And let's face it, it doesn't make sense for the connections and Spencer to be involved with each other, considering that the founder of the connections, Brandon Bailey, hated Spencer because he blamed him for the death of his mentor, James Marcus. In fact, that's part of the reason why the connections was even established years after the death of James Marcus. We also see on the board a picture of the Stairway of the Sun, which is where Bailey was stationed during his last few years with Umbrella. So here's my theory, and this is kind of reaching honestly. Maybe they are both involved. Maybe these theories that people have been split on, maybe they're both right. See, maybe in Resident Evil Requiem, we'll see two different main villains at odds with each other, Brandon Bailey and the connections versus Oswald E. Spencer and his experiments. And both of them are in a race to get their hands on Grace's blood. Could be a really cool dynamic, honestly. Anyway, moving on, at this point in the video, there were a bunch of announcements, but before we talk about those announcements and other third-party leaks around the world, I do want to skip to the end of the video in which we get a little more scenes and gameplay footage from Resident Evil Requiem. Most of it is recycled footage that we've already seen before, but there are a few things to know. First off, we get our first look at gameplay featuring combat against the new zombies, which looks absolutely terrifying. I love this. This scene alone got me extremely hyped, not gonna lie. However, the most important new look that we got is this one right here featuring the man in the chair again. It's the first real look that we've got in which we could see him in the light and see most of his upper body. And yeah, going back to something I said in my last breakdown, you have this scar right around the same area where Wesker punched a hole in Spencer's body. Coincidence? You tell me. As for what else was covered in the video itself, we got confirmation for a Resident Evil showcase early next year, more than likely in January, so that we get one final look at Resident Evil Requiem before it releases the following month. Pre-orders also went live, which didn't reveal a collector's bundle yet, probably because it'll get shown off at the showcase in January, but we did get a look at some of the deluxe edition perks, which included a Lady D costume for Grace, which is just absolutely insane, but I love it. Also, lots of third-party collaborations were announced too, including a Switch 2 Pro controller, which honestly looks incredible, and I hope that the PS5 gets one too. A Grace Ashcroft amiibo for the Switch 2, and Grace Ashcroft is officially coming to Fortnite if, I think, you purchase it on the Epic Store, which I really don't think anybody wants to do that. No offense, Epic. So that's pretty much the entire breakdown of Maggie's recap, but as I said at the start of today's video, there's some other juicy information that got revealed accidentally, and yeah, someone's getting fired for this shit if it's real. See, Sony fucked up. Big time. When updating their stores all over the world after pre-orders went live, one of the international versions of the store made a small, tiny little mistake. They feature some additional content in the deluxe edition, and these features confirm that everybody's favorite rookie cop, Leon S. Kennedy, is confirmed to be in the game. Well, again, maybe. There's been plenty of deepfakes out there, so I wouldn't be too shocked if this one turned out to be the same, but not gonna lie, it looks pretty damn good. Regardless, the description of the deluxe edition of Resident Evil Requiem confirmed that not only is Leon in the game, but he would also be getting an additional costume called Agent DSO alongside an exclusive handgun. When I think of the Agent DSO costume, my first thought goes to the suits that he wore in Resident Evil 6 and the animated TV show Infinite Darkness. Still, it's very important to take this information with a grain of salt, because even though it looks pretty damn good, and I personally believe that Leon is indeed in the game, people are getting really good at faking this shit, so be warned. Either way, if this turns out to be true, it would explain why Capcom is waiting to reveal their collector's bundle, because maybe said bundle features a Leon S. Kennedy figurine. Who knows? Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I love to know what you guys think about everything. Are you now officially on the Oswald E. Spencer train, or do you think all of this is just Capcom trying to throw us off? Hit up the comments and let me know your own thoughts down below. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Nerd Space Games. Take care.